Hoperbole. Hoperbole. Hoperbole.
Mina was barking and she wanted to be near me when I was starting to get the camera set up, so I do believe she actually does want to be in this video. So get ready with Mina while I talk to you about my latest thing that's just really in my mind that I've been kind of sorting through, and it's that human trafficking and slavery is still ongoing and done, and it's being done right in front of us. It's relying on several things, and some things are institutional, and some things, well, a lot of them are institutional, and some things are called political, and some things are called religious. And but the religious piece is a political piece as well. So my basic thesis here is that when we talk about human trafficking and the systems that are in place that support it, that enable it, that protect the people, the traffickers, and not the people who are being trafficked or the vulnerable populations, my theory or hypothesis is that the new Mason-Dixon line is the chromosome, or what you would consider the sex as it is being defined by the religious fanatics in charge. Right now, we're going through a period of time where there's very clear attempts to codify what a man is and who cannot ever be a man. And the reason for that is because only men are protected by the Constitution, and the Constitution, when it talks about people having life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, it's only referring to men. And we have been in a lot of cognitive dissonance as a country, and we've not been agreeing on some things, where some people have talked about the Constitution like it's a living document, which is how I was raised to think of it, like,
oh, we're adapting it and interpreting it to the modern times.
And then we have the constitutionalists that are like,
well, what was the intent?
Men are the protected class in that, and women are basically livestock. And I think it's still this way now. And I will go into this a little bit more. And so what got me thinking this and got me on this was I was really confused about why the whole anti-trans agenda had really taken off, and people were,
okay, we gotta get them out of sports, we gotta do this, we gotta do that, we gotta get them out of the restrooms, we gotta define,
and delegitimize being trans. And that's what it's been about. It's about trans annihilation and delegitimizing the people, dehumanizing them, depersonifying them, and turning them into this, pretending that they're just wholly, mentally deranged, right? So this whole eradication of trans people has been happening this past year. It's not about transness itself, in my interpretation, so much as it is about ensuring that there is no loophole to becoming male, because a male person has more protections. This is not, I don't think, said explicitly, or the people that would have most benefited from this would never shut up about it more than they already don't shut up about it. The reason why I think this is self-evident is because the gatekeeping of who can become a man is so strong. Like a lot of projection, it's pointed right now on controlling women, whether it's trans women or whether it's cis women. Everything is focused on managing women's spaces, as it usually is when there's an issue. Men look for people to manage. They look for other people to subjugate before they would ever reflect on their own issues. So instead of this just being pure bigotry about transness, I see this as a very strategic closing of a legal and lawful loophole, so that in the future, as maybe property rights are taken away, or rights to have checking accounts or rights to vote, as those rights are systematically dismantled for women in the United States, they want to make sure that there is no chance for a woman to transition into being man. And that's why where this is coming from, I think, because at the heart of it, the trans eradication movement is about stopping fraud. And that is how I think a lot of conservatives see trans people. because whether they would admit it or not, they feel that a man has more value in the society, they have more rights, it gets more respect. And so if a woman were to transition into a male, she's somehow exchanging something of unequal value. She was a woman, now she's a man. There's a credit ratings involved.
Okay? You can't do that. You can't just become a man. There's credit ratings involved.
And I think that is a big part of what it comes down to as well. I have like two different big thoughts that are running they're running parallel, but they don't really relate, so I'm trying to pull them apart from each other. ERA, it didn't pass, and that was the attempt to put constitutional protections in place for women, but that didn't pass. Why didn't it pass? So I think throughout history, the constant has been human trafficking. And when you look back and you look at the movement of people, man-made disasters, wars, migrations, throughout it, human trafficking has been constant. And we have different versions of it. We have lawful, known slavery, where we've codified it, like why someone becomes a slave. And we all have an understanding, yes, there is slavery happening, but that person deserved it. And that would be like slavery in the United States now as a punishment for crime, so prison. We know that is slavery, but we have still justified it, and it really is not much of a different justification. Once we decide someone deserves something, it seems like we'll do anything to them. So we have aware and known, and then we have, I think there's known slavery that the people know about and the person who's being enslaved knows about, and we've all agreed, yep, well, except for maybe the enslaved person, right?
Because they're incarcerated, they're probably incarcerated unfairly because their neighborhood was probably not policed, and some other systemic things put in place which put them in a position that, what the fuck.
And then we have unknown slavery, and this is where it's people getting kidnapped, being locked in a basement. And that person that's in there, nobody knows that they're enslaved, but the person that's in there, they know. They're aware of it. And then we have unknown, unaware, and unself-aware enslavement. And I think that is the state that a lot of women are in the United States. I think the idea of misogyny is it's a window dressing. Women are either born into subjugation or they happen to be born free, but they will have to spend their entire life. They will have to spend their entire life being on guard against being trapped by a predator, parasite, or a provider who just wants to use them for being a mother to their child, which is actually not healthy for a woman to just be wanted for that, especially if it's with someone who won't protect her. Every woman you look at, you don't know if she's mentally enslaved or not. You don't know if she was born in a super religious household where men are the leaders and women are the followers, and she has been groomed from day one to be subservient in an entire family structure meant to make her that way. Brothers, fathers, aunts, mothers, grandparents, everyone delivering that message to her. I was fortunate to not grow up in a family like that. There was misogyny, there was some sexism, but you could say that every woman within my family was born free, in the sense that she was encouraged to get an education, she was encouraged to have her own opinions, even if those opinions didn't have as much capital or as much oomph behind them as the males, or wasn't supported or bought into as much. There's degrees of it. I was free. Many women are not born free, but they believe that it's a religion, that this is a choice. So that's why I think religion is so central to our political discourse in this country, because actually religion is a political movement in our country, and it's about the subjugation of women and children. And that is why religion works so hard to make sure that women do not have equal rights, because then there would be recourse to protect people that are being born into these situations and trafficked. Yeah, Anecdotally, I had some notable experiences where I felt that banking institutions made decisions about how I would be listed on assets compared to my husband that I felt had to be rooted in this type of mindset that women are on mortgages for now, and that the unofficial direction is to always list the men's name as primary. I think that that is a thing. I don't know if it's just old things that never got updated from the 70s, which is not, honestly, that's not out of pocket to say that that could be. But for whatever reason, when I had bought my own house, my husband moved in with me. We eventually refinanced when we were going to take out a loan. When the bank refinanced the house, they put his name into the primary and me into the secondary. Initially, this was a mortgage that only had my name on it, but then it was conveniently flipped that way. I was furious about that. When we bought our next house, it was the same thing where we had to manually instruct them to put my name as the primary person on it, just to put me in the first spot. And you know what's crazy is that we continue to get solicitation and mail from utilities, and some are utilities that he set up, but some are utilities that I set up as well. And they don't seem to fail at putting his name on things, but mine gets left off a lot. I do think there is a system in place to make women invisible in terms of building credit, in terms of being able to show what they have amassed, you know, what they have. And you have to fight for it. I think the thing that's most provocative to me about this idea that women are not free and men are free is, well, how do you explain that? How could people potentially grow up that way, living alongside their siblings while one of them is supposedly free and the other is not? And I think it just starts with those strict gender roles. When you pretend that girls and boys are apples and oranges, and you pretend that they're so different that you couldn't possibly have the same rules for privacy or the same respect for their autonomy because of some biological difference, you are not creating the same freedom for the girl, for the woman. I used to think that was accidental, or this this inability of us to be smarter, but it is by design, I have learned. Yeah, brothers and sisters are raised by the same parents, but they're really not raised by the same parents, because on one hand, the parents in their mind raising a boy, they're thinking they're raising a boy, but they're really thinking in their heart that they're raising a free person, and they raise them as they would raise a free person. And when they're raising a daughter, they are thinking of an asset, a kept asset. Men know they have the status, and they're too transactional and predatory to give up the political party to codify equal rights for women. I think they're simply too transactional. Seeing our disenfranchisement, that itself is too powerful of an asset for men to let go. Women would also have a bigger voice and ability to protect children from trafficking and grooming if they had equal rights. And of course that can't be, because again, a large portion of our population is pedophiles. They're straight up pedophiles. And this isn't even just the Epstein class, it's literally everyone. That's why we all know someone that got molested in the 80s, if not ourselves. We thought this was maybe unique or some weird thing about just our own upbringing, but there is just a fundamental flaw in how we view our responsibility to protect children. So as long as predators, parasites, and providers outnumber protectors, we can't get the numbers that we need to codify equal rights and protections for women. Men are raised from infancy to hate girls and women. Women are dehumanized. And this is so that there can be the idea of sexism, and sexism is a benign concept to obscure the existence of two categories of people: free people in the Constitution, and then women and children, or child bearers.